Hi, Nick Hodge here, CEO of Digest Publishing, and I'm going to show you a whole new way to trade. It's a simple three-step strategy a select group of ordinary Americans have been using over the course of the last few months to make some crazy fast money as asset prices continue to inflate for commodities across the board. It's unlike anything you've seen before in the hard asset space. Quite frankly, I'd never seen anything quite like it in my entire life before I met my guest today. And I've made millions investing in hard assets over the last 15 years. So the potential of what I'm going to share with you today is just huge, especially now that the next small cap supercycle in hard assets and commodities is just getting started. It's the brainchild of my guest today. His name is Gerardo Del Real, and he's the best hard asset trader I've ever met. So if you'd like the chance to dramatically boost the size of your account in a matter of weeks instead of months or years, this webinar is something you do not want to miss, because people have been going crazy over Gerardo's new trigger system, and for good reason. They've been making a lot of money as metals prices soar to all-time highs. Gerardo, great to see you again. Thanks for hopping on today.
Absolutely, Nick. Great to be here. But I've got to tell you, the best hard asset trader you've ever met, man, that's some high praise. But look, let's be honest here. What I do is really simple as all get out. I look where no one else is looking. I find the right setups and vote with my money. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And when I get it right, I'm able to help people in my circle make some extra cash. And I've just been very, very fortunate. Lucky almost over the years. That's all.
Lucky? Are you kidding me? Come on, Gerardo. You're just being modest now. Folks, this guy has debated investment strategies at the same conferences as Rick Rule, James Grant, and James Rickards, and has been a highly paid consultant for billionaires and industry insiders. It's all rather impressive if you ask me. Not to mention the fact I've personally taken your advice and watched it turn $37,000 into over $400,000 on a company you introduced me to. Or the time you helped me turn $28,000 into $90,000 on another small commodity company of yours. I've never seen anything like it. So lucky? Yeah, not so much.
Well, thank you for that, Nick. But you know me, it's nice to be known in certain circles, but at the end of the day, none of that really matters to me. I'm just trying to make real money for myself and my followers by doing something I absolutely love to do. So yeah, there's no place I'd rather be right now than right here, because once everybody sees how simple my trigger system is and how much money they can make when these little companies take off, they are never going to want to stop trading this way.
No doubt, Gerardo, because folks, as Gerardo is about to show you, if you're able to take a small amount of money, say $1,000 or $2,000 a trade, and use it to target a 200%, 400%, maybe 1,000% windfall with his trigger system, you have the potential to really pile up a lot of quick cash. That's what makes today's Supercycle Summit so special, because Gerardo has 5 new small cap recommendations teed up for you. And I can promise you're going to want to see those trades, because the companies he identifies typically trade for under $1 and have explosive upside potential. So literally anybody can take advantage of these plays and set themselves up for the chance to make some serious money. Isn't that right, Gerardo?
It is, Nick. I mean, it's just math, right? If you buy something for 75 cents and it goes 75 cents higher, that's a fast double. Better yet, if it goes up to $1.50, you're sitting on an easy triple. I see moves like that happen all the time in this space. That's why I specialize in plays like these, because most of the time they are so undervalued, you can double or triple your money or more in a matter of a few weeks or months. As I said, it happens all the time. And with my new trigger system, I've taken what I do to a whole new level.
There's no doubt about that, Gerardo. I've seen your track record with this, and there's only one way to describe it: on fire. 350% on Almadex Minerals, 400% on Midas Gold, 500% on Tasman Metals, 785% on Nevada Sunrise. And then get this, folks, the 7,042% you made on Quest Rare Minerals. The people in your circle must just be raking it in.
No doubt, Nick. It's been a great run, but that's why I love small companies like this, because they can blow away the returns you can make trading ordinary stocks, especially now that we are entering another huge super cycle for commodities with prices for many metals already taking off. I mean, seriously, as I'm about to prove, it's not even close.
It is not even close, because what most people don't understand is this could be the biggest commodities super cycle the world has ever seen. Much bigger than the one we saw 12 years ago. I mean, you're already seeing it. Just in 2021, lumber was up 63%. Copper is up 46%. Aluminum went up 67%. And oil more than doubled. And things that are harder to track, like uranium, rare earth metal prices, and lithium, are absolutely through the roof, if you can get them at all. At one point here recently, the London Metals Exchange was worried it was going to run out of metals. It's being driven by inflation and the trillions being spent on renewable energy. It's like the 2000 mega boom all over again, Gerardo. It's a commodity bull market in damn near everything.
It absolutely is, Nick. And of course, two little guys from Austin and Spokane have been telling people about this upswing for months and months and months now. But whatever, now that it's so obvious, even the bigger players are saying the exact same thing. The next huge super cycle in commodities has begun. Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Bloomberg, you name it. All of them are calling for a commodities bull market now, which is kind of hilarious since it wasn't that long ago. They were calling the entire sector uninvestable and saying that inflation was transitory. But I got to tell you, I am happy they're joining us, Nick, since it will only push our readers' money in one direction, significantly higher. So what's not to love? Because it's very, very clear, Nick, these price trends are going to accelerate very rapidly, pushing prices much, much higher, blowing past all-time highs. Want to take 10,000 and turn it into 100,000 in a year's time? Gains like that are almost a given at this point in the cycle.
They certainly are, Gerardo. And if you're watching this webinar, here's the part you really need to understand. Super cycles like this, and there have been 4 of them in the last 100 years, last on average about 24 years, but at least 12 years or more of tremendous gains, like the period we're starting right now, followed by post-peak dips and rallies. It's uncanny, really, almost like clockwork. The biggest gains are made either by getting in before everyone else or by trading the pullbacks and rips higher along the way. To see what I mean, just take a look at this chart. It's the CRB Commodities Index going back to the last time this happened. As you can see, the last mega boom in commodities started in the mid-1990s and ran higher for over 15 years until it peaked in 2008-9. Over this massive bull market, gold jumped 278%, silver rose 832%. Oil went from $15 a barrel to almost $150 a barrel, 10 times what it was worth. And palladium jumped 860%. I mean, you name it, it went through the roof.
It absolutely did, Nick. And I don't have to tell you what happened to the junior miners. They went absolutely crazy. I mean, totally bananas. 10-fold, 20-fold, even 50-fold. The gains in this space were just insane, which is what originally attracted me to them, especially if you were able to time your entry and exit points. Like you said, if you weren't in on the ground floor, the biggest gains were made by trading the pullbacks and rips higher along the way. Look at that chart again. Even though the last commodity supercycle started in the mid-90s, there were numerous pullbacks along the way. You could have gotten in at many points along the way and made significant money if you timed it right and were able to cash out. The money was huge, much bigger than anything I'd ever seen before. That period did things for me and my family that I'm still very grateful for.
And now the same thing is happening all over again. After 2008 happened, the commodities index crashed all the way back down to where it started the cycle in the mid-1990s, 24 to 25 years later. That's what makes it a cycle. It goes all the way around. Now, it's starting all over again. The commodity index has doubled in less than a year, and upside from here is just enormous, much bigger than I've ever seen before. So I've got to say, your timing with this new hard asset trigger system is certainly on point. Tell folks exactly how your trigger system works and why it makes you so much money. Because my email box is full of letters from concerned investors who have no idea what to do right now. And the results you've put up have been amazing so far. First, though, if you don't mind, just explain to people why you specialize in low-cost small caps like these.
Well, Nick, it's pretty simple, really. To get extraordinary gains like I do, you can't do what everybody else is doing. To find undervalued plays like these, you have to look in places where nobody else is looking. That's what makes these low-cost junior miners so attractive to me. They are so small, they don't meet the requirements for banks and institutions to invest in. So nobody is even going after these plays.
So they aren't on the radar of any of the big money houses like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs?
No. In fact, in most cases, the big banks aren't even allowed to buy these stocks yet. If they were, the massive inefficiencies I find simply wouldn't exist. That's how I've made my clients as much as 10 times their money or more on everything from rare earths to uranium to gold. Because guess what? Since nobody covers companies this small, nobody recognizes how undervalued they are until some huge news breaks. So I'm able to find incredible value at bargain basement prices. Many of the juniors I trade are priced at 50 cents or less. So the gains with plays like these can be enormous. It's not uncommon to see shares go from 10 cents to $1, especially in a market like this one, which is 100 times better than ordinary stocks.
Like that call you made on Great Bear Resources, right? I mean, nobody outside of Ontario ever heard of Great Bear until you made it your top play at the Money Show. And it blew everyone else out of the water. Most people never get to see stocks that rip that far that fast, do they?
No, they don't, Nick. The regular market just doesn't work that way. But in the junior mining space, I see moves like that all the time. Great Bear went from 54 cents to over $18. That's a 3,200% jump in just 2 years. And I was able to get my followers in extremely early on that one. But I spent a lot of time on that deal, talking to the CEO and going over the drill results on their Red Lake property. So I was privy to some information that not a lot of people knew, despite the fact that it was publicly disclosed.
Now you're getting ready to take it to a whole new level with the picks you're going to cover in a moment. Because I've seen the reports you've put together on these 3 new Supercycle plays, and I've got to tell you, I'm really stoked about them. First, though, can you tell us how your trigger system works?
Sure, Nick. It works by what I call the law of inevitable profits. It's the simplest law ever. Pure common sense. As unavoidable as gravity. What goes up must have a catalyst. It has to. And over the years, I've learned how to identify specific triggers that can send small mining stocks on huge runs, big enough to turn every $10,000 you invest into over $100,000 or more in a very short period of time.
And that's how you made the bulk of your money, isn't it, Gerardo? By identifying catalysts in tiny stocks and investing in them before the news breaks.
That's absolutely right, Nick. That's really why I specialize in small caps. I mean, it's just simple physics, right? If you light a stick of dynamite under a huge boulder, it will move at least a little. But if you light off the same stick of dynamite under a much smaller stone, it can be launched into orbit. The same thing happens with the right junior miners. Light some dynamite under a big company like Rio Tinto, BHP, or Glencore, and it might move 2 or 3%. But light the same amount of dynamite under small stocks like Great Bear Resources, and you could walk away with a 3,200% gain. Point is, a smaller company will always go farther and longer when the same force is applied. Like when Revival Gold went up 70% after it announced it had increased its gold resources at its project in Idaho. Or when K2 Gold Corp jumped 143% in 3 days in July last year on the back of positive gold exploration results.
Well, Gerardo, you've already showed several people, including me. You put me onto Magna Gold not long ago. I bought Magna at 10 cents ahead of several catalysts that you saw coming, including exploration results and a mine acquisition. I watched those shares go from 10 cents to over $1.80 in short order, making 1,780% on every $10,000 I invested. That position is now worth 6 figures. My kids should probably write you a thank you note on that one because their college money is already in the bank, which is why we put this hard asset webinar together today, so you can show people how to use it to make a fortune on this commodity supercycle.
That's a perfect example of the law of inevitable profits at work, Nick, because it was only a matter of time on that one. I knew CEO Arturo Bonillas, and I believed him when he said he was on the M&A trail. Soon after they acquired the San Francisco mine in Mexico, it was off to the races. As you say, shares went from 10 cents to over $1.80 in short order, which is how my trigger system works. It's an event-driven sequence that almost can't miss. And it always plays out in 3 stages: the macro, the micro, and the trigger. The macro is the big picture, basically what's going on in the world as it relates to easy credit, demand, and the money supply, or what I like to call the Holy Trinity.
And folks, if you are still unclear what the official policy is on this, let me spell it out for you. It's a Keynesian wet dream. Trillions and trillions of dollars flooding the market like the greatest tsunami of all time. If you doubt that, just take a look at this chart. It tracks the growth of the money supply. And starting last year, it went totally erect. And I have to giggle, Gerardo, because I don't know how else to describe it. It makes what they did during the financial crisis look like a blip.
It's unlike anything we've ever seen before, Nick. The government increased the US dollar supply by 40% in less than a year. Including the CARES Act, we're talking almost $4 trillion in new money, or 5 times bigger than the 2009 stimulus package, Nick. And we haven't even gotten to the multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill yet. It's all so insane. But talk about a catalyst for inevitable profits. That's a lot of stimulation, like something you'd see in a third world country. But I prefer to think of it as a coiled spring, Nick, because the boom it has set into motion as that money inflates commodity prices and kicks off a new super cycle is going to trigger the biggest investment opportunity of our lifetimes.
No doubt, Gerardo. It'll work like a charm. All of this money, until it doesn't, which is a given at some point. But from where I sit, this boom is just getting started. And it could easily be bigger than the 1920s. Because after all these lockdowns, the amount of pent-up demand is off the charts. Like you said, it's like a coiled spring. U.S. households have a record $142 trillion net worth. Now economists expect the economy to grow at 6% or more this year. That's nearly twice what it was growing before the pandemic. And the price of everything will continue to go through the roof. You don't have to be a stock expert to understand that. It's just common sense. Oil, gas, coffee, copper, even milk, you name it. Nearly every single commodity is in short supply with rising prices. So this super cycle will be generating huge cash for years and years to come, because commodity prices always overshoot to incentivize new supply to come online. That's why it's a super cycle, and it's why it can last for so many years. And the same thing happens to select underlying small cap commodity stocks. So help us understand how you drill down on this. With all of this money being spent, how do you translate that into the biggest small cap commodity stock winners using your macro, micro, and trigger system?
Glad to, Nick. That's where the micro comes in, which is really just a deep dive into each individual company. It's where I crunch the numbers. I sit down with the management team, I go over their track record, and take a hard look at what they are sitting on now. Basically, I do all the work that companies like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan would do if they bothered to evaluate this space. That helps me eliminate the thousands of junior miners who are selling nothing but a pipe dream. So I'm only investing in a small group of legit companies that are poised for rapid gains. We're talking the best of the best, small companies that are ridiculously undervalued, which is how I'm able to buy them so cheap. You see where I'm going with this, don't you, Nick?
I absolutely do, Gerardo, because that's where the trigger comes in, doesn't it? Until the market recognizes and unleashes that value, you're not going to make any money, are you? No matter how great the story is.
No, you're not. That's why uncovering these triggers is so critical to what I do. As I said earlier, what goes up must have a catalyst. And when you know how to identify those triggers, you can use the law of inevitable profits to your advantage. Nothing, especially huge gains, happens without a reason. It can be drilling results or a buyout situation, like a merger or acquisition, the restart of an old mining project, a permitting decision, or an update like a preliminary economic or resource assessment. Any one of these 5 events can send shares of junior mining companies much higher and in a hurry.
That's where your site visits, emails, and phone calls with the CEOs and the management teams make all the difference in the world. Because most of the time, big news events like these happen like a lightning strike, and you have to know about them ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll miss out on all the big moves, the inevitable profits, won't you, Gerardo?
Exactly, Nick. The beauty is my strategy identifies a tell that reveals when these trigger events are coming. So I'm always one step ahead of everybody else. And again, I don't need to say one word to prove it to you. All you have to do is take a quick look at these next few trades, and you'll understand how powerful my connections can be. Like the time I recommended Nevada Sunrise Gold Corp based on a conversation I had with the CEO just 6 months before they announced a major new drilling program at their Kinsley Mountain Gold project. I made 785% on that trade after my own independent geologist confirmed their drilling results. Had you taken this trade the same time I did, you'd have turned every $1,000 invested into $8,857, all by taking advantage of a move 99.9% of investors never saw coming. Incredible, right? But maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Here's another example of a move my trigger system helped me spot before some big money news crossed the wire. This time, it was after meeting with the CEO of Hannon Metals Limited, one of the top 10 landholders in Peru. As it turns out, they were sitting on a basin-scale copper project, which only adds up to one thing in the mining business: huge money. Not long after, they were granted 24 new mining concessions, which gave them exclusive rights to drill. And I made a fast 240%. Was it luck, though? You be the judge. Either way, a 240% winner was mine. Had you taken this trade the same time I did, you'd have turned every $1,000 invested into $3,400 in less than 2 months. Then there's the huge gain I made on Quest Rare Minerals. After studying the drill results from their Strange Lake property, I set the record on that one, banking a 7,042% gain. Most people would be ecstatic to make that kind of return over a few decades. I did it in a few years. If you took this trade the same time I did, you could have turned every $1,000 invested into, get this, $71,420.
Now are you starting to see why this trigger system is so revolutionary? Because big moves like this happen all the time. Trading ahead of major events, Gerardo has made 7,042% in Quest Rare Minerals, 3,900% in Rare Element Resources, 1,780% in Magna Gold, 785% on Nevada Sunrise, 500% in Tasman Metals, 240% on Hannon Metals, and 143% on K2 Gold. Now you know why I follow this guy. And yes, like everything you've seen today, those are real gains, made in real time, trading real money, not some back-tested make-believe BS. Because you aren't like most newsletter writers who recommend a stock and don't care whether it goes up or down because they don't own it. In fact, you aren't a newsletter writer at all, are you, Gerardo? You're a trader first. And you've got your own money in these trades, which makes the stakes that much higher.
I do, Nick. As I said, trading small companies is how I've made the bulk of my money. I always have skin in the game. So if I'm recommending it, you can bet I have some of my own money in on the same exact play. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And the people who follow me wouldn't be making all this cash. But that's why I started Junior Resource Trader, so other people could benefit from my research, insights, and connections, because I know what I do can make a difference in people's lives.
It already has, Gerardo. We'll get to Junior Resource Trader in a moment, because what you've done with it is going to help a lot more people. But first, I want to take a look at the 3 new small cap targets your trigger system just identified, because each one of these hard asset plays has the potential to jump 100%, 200%, 300% or more in very short order. And I'm sure people want to hear why you think they are the top plays right now. So let's take a look at the 3 Supercycle companies you vetted for everybody today, because they are the best of the best, aren't they?
They are, Nick, and it's crazy how undervalued these plays are right now.
So let's start off with your copper play, because if there was ever a screaming buy right now, it's copper. I mean, it's already trading at an all-time high, and demand is so high that inventories are at their lowest level in nearly 10 years. Now the demand curve is about to go through the roof with all of the spending that's headed down the pike for clean energy and electric cars. I don't want to call it a perfect storm, but it's close. I mean, this year is really looking like a hell of a buying opportunity, especially when you're talking about companies with large, high-grade copper projects. And the company you have today certainly fits that bill.
Yes, it does, Nick. A global copper shortage is driving prices higher. And one tiny company is sitting on 1 billion pounds of it. Now its stock has to rise nearly 200 times to match the value of the deposit. I mean, it's just math, the kind with a lot of zeros.
So let's go over the math here, because it really is impressive. And as you say, there are a lot of zeros.
Well, to start, Nick, their copper asset is in Peru, which is one of the best places to mine copper in the world. The ports, the power, the water, everything you need for a project like this. It is already in place. And I can tell you they are going to need it. Because get this, they are sitting on 5 billion pounds of copper. That's billion with a B. As I said, there's lots of zeros here. Because at $4 a pound, that's equivalent to $20 billion in value. And that's if copper stays at just $4 a pound.
which you and I both know isn't going to happen, Gerardo. It's already heading higher than that. So there's no way it's going to stay there, not in this environment. Goldman Sachs is forecasting the largest supply squeeze in 10 years. And Citigroup says supply will not meet demand most years. Copper could easily run as high as $7 a pound at some point. So that $20 billion in value could be kind of light, to the tune of $15 billion.
All true, Nick. The supply is going to be extremely tight, but you've got to start somewhere, right? So let's use that $20 billion figure, just to be conservative. You know me, I'd rather underestimate than overestimate. So $20 billion is where I start with this. I say start because, oh, by the way, they are also sitting on $7.9 billion worth of gold and $2.9 billion worth of silver. So the total take here could be almost $31 billion. And this tiny little firm owns all of it.
And that's where the math here gets really interesting.
It does, because the market cap on this is only, get this, $101 million. Not small, but nothing compared to the value they are sitting on. The point is, doing the math, their share price would need to go 200 times higher just based on the copper alone. Not counting the gold, not counting the silver. If you count that, we're talking 300 times higher, which is why I expect this to be one of the top takeover targets once everybody figures out what's going on here. Nick, will it go that high? I don't know. I'll be honest, that seems crazy. But 100 times your money here isn't out of the question. That's enough to turn every $1,000 you invest into $100,000. The best part is they are all cashed up and permitted, ready to roll. So once the news starts to break, it's going to be off to the races, Nick.
I love it, Gerardo. It's almost a no-brainer when you're dealing with your system and the law of inevitable profits. Then again, so is the next play, which involves an area nobody is really paying attention to, but they should. I've been talking about it for months. Rare earths. These metals are in everything from batteries and wind turbines to smartphones and high-tech war machines. So they are critical to almost everything. National defense, green tech, you name it, and it contains rare earth metals. The problem is China still has a stranglehold on them, don't they?
Yes, they do, Nick. And it's quickly turning into a much bigger problem now that China is toying with the idea of limiting their rare earth exports again.
It's like deja vu. Somehow I think I've seen this movie before. We all have.
You know it, Nick. That's why I love this space so much right now. Because China still accounts for 80% of U.S. rare earth imports. And the last time they pulled this stunt, we saw several 1,000% plus winners in the best positioned stocks. Now it's happening all over again. The difference is there's even more juice to squeeze this time around because the electric car story is one for the ages. Like railroads or computers, it's just going to be massive. And the money made in this space is going to be enormous. You're already seeing it, and the whole thing depends on rare earth metals. So the run-up in these plays is going to be historic, much bigger than what we saw the last time this happened. You've seen what Tesla's been doing lately. It hit $1 trillion market cap. You've seen all of these battery companies going nuts. What do you think is going to happen to the shares of companies that supply them?
You know the answer, Gerardo. They have nowhere to go but up. That's the beauty of this play, because it's rare earths and batteries combined.
Nick, I've had numerous discussions with the CEO and am close to two of its biggest shareholders. So I always get the direct scoop. And you're absolutely right. They have their fingers in everything. Batteries, fuel cells, electric motors, chips, drones, 3D printing, robotics. You name it, and they are in it. Everything they do is really cutting edge, and they are based in Europe. So, if China cuts back, they are in a perfect position to pick up the slack. They have 100% interest in one of the only fully built graphite mines in the world, which is huge for batteries. Plus, they have 100% interest in one of the world's most significant heavy rare earth deposits. In all, they are sitting on around $426 million in net present value, or NPV, which might not sound like much until you consider their market cap is around $33 million.
So just to match the NPV of what they have in the ground, the share price would need to jump by almost 13 times. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Nick. That's how undervalued this play is. I mean, come on. The replacement cost for just the graphite mine is more than the entire market cap of the company today. That doesn't include all of their other assets. So we're really looking at a rock bottom valuation here. Enough to turn every $1,000 you invest into almost $13,000. And it's trading for less than 50 cents a share.
And finally, we have your top gold play right now, which excites me because gold has been lagging a bit since it hit a record in 2020, hasn't it?
It has, Nick. And so I know it's been frustrating to a lot of gold investors. I'm actually loving the opportunity because I hear from them all the time. I absolutely love it because so many gold companies are ridiculously undervalued now in relation to the assets they hold. And guess what, folks? I don't care what the government says. Inflation is everywhere you look.
So it's not a matter of if, but when gold prices will go on another tear, folks. And the time to buy is when the price is down and no one else is looking.
Well, you know, Nick, everybody wants to be a contrarian, but no one wants to buy the pullbacks down, do they?
It's the hardest thing to do, Gerardo. But you and I both know that's how you bag the biggest gains. Like with this gold play, I've seen the numbers and I'm totally sold because going over the figures, there's so much upside here.
There is, Nick, and I'm adding to my position because once gold goes higher, I expect shares of this partnership to rip. The reason why is simple. I've seen this property from every single angle. And my own geologist has confirmed they are sitting on a huge stake of gold. Not that I'm surprised. They are drilling in an area of Nevada called the Carlin Trend. What's the Carlin Trend? It's only one of the largest concentrations of gold in the entire Western Hemisphere. 84 million ounces of gold have already been pulled from here. And we know another 31 million ounces still exist. Of course, the partnership doesn't have all that gold, but they are sitting on a sizable chunk. Enough to earn investors today a huge payday. So how big are we talking about? My geologist has confirmed their initial discovery alone contains 500,000 ounces of gold, which at recent prices near $2,000 an ounce adds up to $1 billion stake. And I've got to tell you, Nick, you and I both know gold is going back to record high prices. It's simply in one of those pullbacks we mentioned earlier. And that's the perfect time to buy when you're confirmed that we're in another supercycle.
That's it, Gerardo. That's why the sky's the limit with this gold play. The way I see it, gold could easily get as high as $5,000 an ounce this go around. What's the upside on this stock if that happens?
Well, to be honest, Nick, the numbers here are almost too big. The combined market cap of the partnership is just tiny right now at only $22 million. It's super undervalued. The upside here is pushing over 2,000%. Will it get that high? Again, no one can say for sure. But I do know this. I've done a ton of consulting work on each of these partners. I know them very, very well. They are among the best of the best in the business. And the property they now control once carried a market cap of $250 million. So 11 times your money on this play isn't out of the question. That's enough to turn every $1,000 you invest into $11,000.
I love it, Gerardo. and you can buy both ends of the partnership for less than 35 cents a share. So like the other two plays, it's well under $1. And the way I see it, the timing on these three plays couldn't possibly be any better than it is right now.
Wow, and you know it as well as anybody, Nick. Timing is everything in this niche. The key is to get in early before the news breaks and everyone else piles in.
And that's what makes these plays so time sensitive right now. I mean, I've seen your research on this and crunched the numbers for myself, and the facts are undeniable, inevitable even. We're ready for liftoff because there's no shortage of triggers for these plays, is there?
No, I mean, we're talking multi-catalyst events that are quickly taking shape, Nick. And I believe the money this time is going to be huge. Perhaps the biggest ever, as the macro has aligned as well to create a small cap commodity supercycle of epic proportions.
If this sounds big to you, that's because it is. Because starting today, Gerardo's going to work for you.
That's exactly what I'm going to do, Nick, because that's what I'm offering today to everybody who's listening. And in on the fastest way to get rich I've ever seen. A way to harness the law of inevitable profits to profit from the inflation and commodity supercycle that's at hand right now. I say this with the utmost confidence because nobody knows the potential winners and losers like I do right now. I don't say this to boast or brag, only to help make a simple point. I know everybody who is anybody in this space. Bottom line, I know all the heavy hitters, and you don't get to where I am without knowing what they're up to. That's why I'm reaching out today. I know I can help people in a way nobody else can. And all you have to do is accept this invitation to join my inner circle. Say yes, and I'll immediately send you the 3 new trades I just went over, each one with the potential to hand you 10 times your money or more. All I ask is that you give Junior Resource Trader a try. That's it. No more, no less. We've made it as simple as we possibly can, right, Nick?
We have. And just to be clear, folks, Junior Resource Trader is not just another financial newsletter. Not by a long shot. Because when you work with Gerardo, it actually gives you a seat at the table. No big media analyst, Wall Street bigwig, or any other financial expert can possibly offer you access like that. But Gerardo can. I know because I've seen it for myself. The guy is amazing, and his info is top-notch.
Well, thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that. And, like I said earlier, this is one of the ways I've built my wealth. It's how I take care of my family. It's one of the ways you've built yours. And now, for the first time ever, I'm excited to make my circle even bigger. So if you're one of a small group of people who take advantage of what I'm going to disclose to you today, get ready for what could easily be the biggest payday of your lifetime. Because I have 2 more Supercycle plays I'm going to share with you today. The first is another gold trade I just love, with a property that is so undervalued, it's ridiculous. How good is this play? Let's just say John Robbins, who is a legend in the space, calls it the best early stage gold camp he's ever seen. And he's sold multiple projects for hundreds of millions of dollars. We're talking the potential for millions of ounces of gold. Just do the math on that one. Now, they are embarking on a super aggressive drilling program in the next few months. It all adds up to big money. The crazy thing is it still trades for less than 50 cents a share. Meanwhile, the upside is easily 500% plus. The second one is, I can almost guarantee you, a uranium trade that not 1 in 10,000 investors has ever heard of. And that's because it operates behind the scenes, quietly scooping up the most choice properties available, and then optioning them out so other companies pay for all the work to get done. It's the perfect strategy, And it just added several uranium properties recently that I think the market will value much higher in a hurry.
Wow, Gerardo, you're really giving it all away today, aren't you?
I am, and frankly, I feel like I have to, because opportunities like the one we're looking at right now with this giant super cycle only come around once or twice a generation. The Fed is printing money like it never has before. Demand for everything I'm looking at is going through the roof, and the companies I'm watching are trading for pennies on the dollar. Something's got to give, Nick, and you and I both know that's the share price. So the sky really is the limit with these plays, and I want people to have the chance to get in early before everybody else wakes up and decides to pile in. So yes, I want to go all out on this today with my 5 best small cap plays for the commodity supercycle. Just say yes and they can be yours. All you have to do is give Junior Resource Trader a try to get them all, right?
Yep, and believe me, folks, it doesn't matter who your parents are, where you came from, what you're doing now, or even if you went to college, because Gerardo can literally show anybody how to do this. I know because I get notes from people telling me how great Gerardo is all the time. Like this one from Donald S., who couldn't thank Gerardo enough after his portfolio quickly ran up to $110,000. Thank you, Mr. Del Real. Thank you. The results have been amazing. Since using your publication, my portfolio has risen to a rapidly advancing $110,000. The results have been amazing. This is truly a dream unfolding. Thank you for your publications based on hard work and something that today is hard to find, your honesty and integrity. It's all thanks to you, Gerardo. He called your results amazing and a dream unfolding. More importantly, he applauded your honesty and integrity.
Well, you know how much that means to me and how much I appreciate hearing those words, Nick. I take great pride in the number of people I've helped along the way.
Emails, texts, you name it. I even get voicemails like this one from Jack S., who was so happy with your work, he gave us permission to play this for you today. Another one you're going to love.
Gerardo makes money for me. Big time. Big time. My God. If I had put all my money from other subscriptions into what he's been talking about and doing, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He's been giving me a Christmas present every month. And all I can tell you, we're not talking about nickels and dimes here. This guy is really, really great. Enough said.
I could go on and on and on. The point is, it's not just me who's making all this money. All the people in Gerardo's circle have had the chance to make a ton.
Thanks again, Nick. I love to hear these stories and celebrate their successes because they are my heroes. They're the ones who have taken control of their lives. They've secured their family's future and are living the real American dream. That's why I started Junior Resource Trader.
So tell us how this is all going to work, Gerardo, because I think this is going to make people a lot of money. One trade you put out went up 16% in a day. Then I saw one of your gold plays go up 55% in a day not long after. Point is, the 5 plays you mentioned are just the beginning, aren't they?
You're right about that, Nick. I built Junior Resource Trader for the explosive commodity super cycle that is playing out right now. Let me give you 2 quick examples that I think illustrate perfectly what I mean. First, I run a buy and hold service called Junior Resource Monthly. In that service, we take long-term positions in precious, base, and energy metals companies. As any professional investor knows, you trade in ranges around your core positions. So, while we may buy and hold a company like Nevada Sunrise in Junior Resource Monthly, we'll constantly be trading it in Junior Resource Trader as opportunities arise. So this is perfect if you're already with me on the buy and hold side. But the brilliance of my trigger system is you don't need to be in order to profit from the commodity super cycle that is unfolding right now. Anyone can execute these trades, whether they're typically resource investors or not. Second, Many opportunities in a commodity supercycle aren't buy and hold. To make maximum profits, you need to be able to buy the pullbacks along the way and trade around the catalyst I mentioned. I'll want to get in a stock just based on an upcoming drill hole or expected M&A news, and then get right back out once that catalyst materializes. The truth is, the cycle is going to last for years, and the first 5 companies I just laid out are only a fraction of the opportunities you'll have when you join up with me today. Things in this space are going to get crazy, and the number of catalysts I'm tracking is off the charts, much bigger than I've ever seen before. So those 5 trades are part of several I'm lining up right now, each with similar upside potential. I mean, 10 cents to $10 isn't out of the question with some of these plays.
So what can people expect when they join your inner circle today?
Great question, Nick. First, I'm immediately going to send them the 5 new trades my trigger system just uncovered in a new report. It's called Get Triggered, 5 Kickoff Commodity Boom Stocks. Each of them are locked, loaded, and ready to go. You'll have the report in seconds. I'll review each company in full, explain all of the assets they are sitting on, and list all of the catalysts that are poised to send their share prices much higher. Then I'm going to give them full access to my Junior Resource Trader Alert service, where each month they will receive, on average, 1 new recommendation. Once they receive an alert, I'll follow up with them every step of the way as it develops. If a company is negotiating a new joint venture deal or has new drilling results to report, you'll get an alert immediately. If they are about to hit a major financial milestone, I'm going to analyze what it means for you and your money. Everything will be concentrated into a straight-to-the-point alert document for your review. The macro, the micro, the trigger. I cover every single base. Finally, when it's time to exit and capture any gains, I will issue an instant sell alert. That way you'll never be guessing, even if you're new to the game. That's how simple I've made this for everybody.
I will second the Junior Resource Trader is the best service of its kind that I've ever followed. As I said earlier, I've used Gerardo's advice to turn $37,000 into over $400,000 on a single play and made a quick $62,000 on another. All it takes is 3 simple steps. You just wait for Gerardo's trigger system to spot a new play, follow his step-by-step instructions in the alert, and walk away with the chance to make huge gains trading ahead of the big money news, like I did. What could possibly be easier than raking in tens of thousands of dollars on trade after trade?
Not much, Nick. That's why I know I could easily charge $25,000 just for my Junior Resource Trader alerts. I have corporate clients that pay me that much all the time for my insights and guidance. You made twice that on a single play.
I'd certainly pay $25,000 for your advice.
I know you would, Nick, but I'd never charge individual clients that much. No one today will pay anywhere near that, and everyone still gets treated like a VIP. This is a top-notch trading service. I've gone the extra mile with this. As soon as you join, you'll immediately get secure login credentials to our private portal, where you'll find every Junior Resource Trader special report, all of my Junior Resource Trader alerts, access to my model portfolio, and to answer all of your questions, I've set up a special members concierge service that will give you a direct line to our VIP support desk. This is a dedicated service only for our highest level subscribers, where you can call Monday through Friday and get the white glove treatment from my team. Plus, 24/7 email access where you can reach out to me anytime. In fact, I expect and hope that you do. Most times I send along a personal note in addition to my team's response. That's how hands-on this is for me.
So by now, Gerardo, having seen all of this, people must be wondering how much all of this costs.
That's actually the best part, Nick. Not much. Because when you join today, you come in as a founders member. And I mean that. This is really the first time ever we're opening up membership in Junior Resource Trader to a wide audience. So we want to give you a huge discount. That means it only costs a tiny fraction of what my big clients pay. It's so small, my Wall Street friends think I'm nuts. Quite frankly, when you see how little this costs, I think you'll be stunned too. I'll give you the good news in just a moment because I think you're going to love it. But before I do, I have one more big surprise for you.
Another surprise, Gerardo? You've got to be kidding me.
Not at all, Nick. I'm trying to get people who have never listened to me or believed in the power of mining stocks, for that matter, to recognize the millionaire making potential for the first time. So the 5 initial trigger stocks, alerts, and VIP support aren't the only thing I'm going to send you. Every new Founders member today will also get resource requisites. What makes mining stocks soar? Earlier, we went through what I look for in a company before I recommend it for a trade. The macro, the micro, and trigger. This report puts those criteria into words. It's my recipe for a successful resource stock trade. What to look for, how to identify it, and how to time it. I put it all in this report.
You're giving away the cow for free, Gerardo.
Well, I can see how it feels that way because I just don't serve up the fish for my members. I show them the secrets so they can land the big ones for themselves.
Gerardo, you really are rolling out the red carpet. You're giving them everything they need to capture a fortune from tiny stocks and the commodity supercycle that's underway. I don't know anyone else who can possibly offer an inside track on all of these deals like you can. So tell us already. What's the Founders member pricing?
Nick, you know as well as anyone that running a high quality operation like this doesn't come cheap and without a lot of hard work. We have over a dozen employees behind the scenes helping to make it happen. So it's a sizable payroll for sure. And that doesn't include the cost of site visits and conferences, which I'm really glad to be getting back to. That's why I said some corporate clients pay tens of thousands of dollars per year for this type of elite investment intel. But because this isn't for corporate clients and because I don't want anyone to miss out on this life-changing commodity supercycle, where we've already shown how you can easily turn $1,000 into $10,000 over and over again, here's the bottom line. When you join today, you won't pay anywhere close to $25,000, but this isn't one of those $49 research services. As a high-power consultant, I charge my clients tens of thousands of dollars for this kind of information. Plus, my expenses are over $1 million a year. So it's definitely not cheap. Nothing really worth having ever really is. But as I mentioned earlier, with the special one-time opportunity that I've arranged for you today, you'll be joining as a Founders member, which means you're entitled to a huge discount. I'm not talking about 20%, 30%, or even 50% off. As I said earlier, I want everyone to be able to do this. That's why I'm also offering everyone today my double your money promise. Try Junior Resource Trader for the next 60 days. Take advantage of all the recommendations. Study every one of my briefings. Immerse yourself in every facet of my world and see what you think. If I haven't changed your life, boosted your bank account, or made a positive impact on your cash flow, just let us know and I'll refund every penny of your money. You can keep everything you received through the special limited offer as a show of my gratitude. That way you'll have absolutely zero downside. In fact, I'm so confident you're going to love my work, I'll even take it one big step further. If you don't see the opportunity to double your money 6 times over the next 12 months, just give us a call and we'll give you another year of Junior Resource Trader for free.
That's huge, considering he's about to send you 5 new recommendations now that could easily make you 10 times your money or more, plus access to every new trade he makes via a trader alert. a report that spells out how he finds these trades so you can do it yourself, and VIP support desk along with a promise to at least double your money 6 times over the next year. I think you'll agree. That's as fair as it gets. You can see how reasonable it is to join by clicking the button below.
But first, I do have to warn folks, Nick. I can't make these founders member subscriptions widely available. The reason why is obvious. These are extremely low price stocks that can double, sometimes even triple your money in a matter of hours once the big money news breaks. And if I let too many people sign up, there's a chance members won't be able to maximize their gains. And that just wouldn't be fair. So the number of people who can get into Junior Resource Trader has to be restricted, or we can't do it at all. So only 250 founder subscriptions are available today. So please, if you're interested at all, don't wait on this. Millions of people could see this today, and I expect they will be spoken for very quickly.
So let's not waste another moment, Gerardo, because I'm sure people want to get started with this right away, and our time is running short. You don't have to be a multimillionaire insider. You don't have to be the client of a major hedge fund, and you don't have to be an expert on the mining industry. You just have to be smart and know exactly how to play it. All the details can be found by clicking the button below, but please don't wait. The number of slots is extremely limited. As Gerardo said, he can only extend this deal to the first 250 people who respond today, and he has no idea how long it will last. So click the button below to see how big your discount is. It will take you to a secure site where you can review everything Gerardo just talked about. Even a $1,000 investment, as we've seen, can pay big. For Gerardo Del Real and the rest of the Digest Publishing team, I'm Nick Hodge, reminding you, the money this time is going to be huge, perhaps the biggest ever. All the details can be found by clicking the button below. Have a great week, everybody.